Hey everyone, welcome back. Icon here. Thanks for checking out another episode of Esports Analysis. And today, a little bit different here. So today we're hopping on board with ENVOY. So a lot of people have been asking for this. People have also been asking to see stuff from Gunless and Arcides as well, but they don't really stream as much. The nice thing about ENVOY is that he plays out of the Hex quarter, so now he is streaming all the time, so we will be able to jump on board with him every so often. The other nice thing about this scrim is that they are playing Atlanta again. So they just went through, they just played the very first map. It was a 250 to 247 game on the map Hackney Yard. So we'll see what happens here on Gunrunner. But to begin with, the first hill is up. It's 30 seconds gone, and it looks like in terms of spawns, Chicago does have the spawn that you want going into this second hill. Right above Envoy's face cam, I do have a map up there. So if we're talking about that map, second hill is back here. So you do want to hold down this back side of the map, and you want your enemies to be spawning over towards mid-map. So we'll go ahead. We'll kind of watch how this develops here as it rotates in the next 10 seconds. It does look like they have both sides controlled. 3 just went down, and it looks like Chicago is still spawning back on this corner. So all is well so far. They do have a 6-point deficit, but that's really not all that important in terms of the final score, because this second hill is where you're going to end up getting the majority of your points. So with this one thing that I will point out is that ENVOY just spawned, and again, I'm drawing in the top right-hand corner of the map. ENVOY just spawned on the right side of P2. So as he spawned on the right side, that means that Atlanta is coming from the left side. So as Atlanta left the first hill, they pushed over towards open cargo, and now they are pushed up on that left side. And it looks like, so if you're Chicago, what you want to do is you want to keep getting those cuts from that right side spawn. So again, if you're spawning right side, and again, I'm drawing, so and I'm not going to mention all the time, but I am going to be drawing quite a bit. But essentially, what you want to do is, ENVOY was pushing through the back, but you want to have a lot of people cutting off mid here. So if you send the majority of your people to cut off mid as the enemy team, as Atlanta is rotating from that P4 open cargo rotation, then you can get a lot of those kills, and then you can go ahead and stack up a lot of that time. So as we look at the time in the bottom left-hand corner, we have a 55 to 18 ball game. So Chicago did a nice job of locking off that left side as they were capturing the score, the points on that second hard point. As we rotate to third, you do want to try to flip this here. So again, for the third hard point, you do want to come from warehouse. This is one where it doesn't necessarily matter all that much. I've talked about this quite a few times, but the only thing that matters here is, say you're coming from warehouse. If you're going into the third hardpoint from warehouse, then the most important thing after you get control is to push out into these cuts, right? Get up here on these head glitches, over here in this corner, right here, kind of in pipes a little bit. So it doesn't matter which side as long as you're doing that. So if you're pushing out and not allowing the enemy team to get into that third hardpoint, that's how you can maximize your points for that third hardpoint. So far, we've got about a 55-point lead for Chicago. So far, and a lot of that lead comes from having spawns for that second hardpoint. So every time I break down this map, I talk about how important the second and the fifth hardpoint are. So for this one, second, they were able to win on the first rotation. We'll see if they're able to win the fifth hardpoint on this first set of rotations also. They're not set up for it yet, but it does look like they have people approaching over there. If you're ENVOY at this point in time, you are trying to push through as your teammates come from behind you. So in terms of roles, it's really not that important in terms of who pushes through. You just want the person that's the forward-most person to push through as your teammates come through from behind you. So it looks like with their 70-point lead, if I'm Chicago at this point in time, I do want to focus on getting these last 11 seconds because you're not set up for this P5 hardpoint as it rotates back to the other side of the map inside warehouse. So since you're not set up over there, you do want to try to maximize all those points on P4 so that as it rotates to P5, you're not going to end up losing the majority of those points. Now, this is a nice push from ENVOY. That would have been a big kill. So nice trade there from Simp if you're an Atlanta fan. That's a big kill. But Atlanta, you have spawns for this warehouse spawn. So if you can get these 40 points, you're going to end up being down by 30 as you go back through the second set of rotations. Now, if you can do that, we'll end up seeing, but it is super important. One thing that I'll point out right now, so I will draw on map again, as we're in the 5th hardpoint, Chicago is spawning over here by P3, then Atlanta is spawning over towards Woods. So at this point in time, what they're trying to do is they're trying to meet up in this area right here. The team that can get the majority of the kills in this area, so you saw ENVOY a couple times go through pipes and try to hit this area. The team that can get the majority of the kills in that choke point area is the team that's going to end up winning that map, or that hard point. And it looks like, as we're about to rotate here, the vast majority of that time went to Atlanta. They did a phenomenal job of holding that down. And now as we go back into the second set of rotations, it's just going to go back through the same exact strategy that we talked about before. Now, this is going to be pretty intense. So one thing that I'll notice real quick, last thing that I'll point out before we get into a listen in, is that you want to make sure that you're holding down both sides. So right now, that left flank is open. So if we're drawing this, again, first hill is right here in the middle. You have to lock down this left side flank, and you have to lock down this right side flank if you want to get the beneficial spawns, the most beneficial spawn. So right now, it looks like ENVOY's watching the right side. There is somebody coming through. We'll see if he's able to finish that kill or not. That person went and snuck through into this pipes room. But it does look like he has help coming. That's a nice kill there. So again, it looks like they're doing a pretty good job of locking down the right side. The left side is where they're spawning. So they are pushing from this right side, and you can pick that up just because of where, if I'm watching the mini map, you can see where Chicago's spawning at. So as I'm watching ENVOY, I'll just draw it real quick. ENVOY's right here mid tracks, and he's watching that way. And as his teammates come up, they're spawning left side of P2. So since they were spawning left side of P2, that means that what that tells you is that Atlanta is pushing through this opposite side over here. And you can tell that just because of where people are spawning. But as this one gets pretty contested, it does look like Chicago is spawning out now. So this has flipped. I would imagine probably at the end of P2 on the second set of rotations that this one's probably going to be tied. So with that, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to let you guys listen in. Nice kill there. A big two-piece would have went down. If he would have been able to finish that one, it would have been a big two-piece. But I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to let you guys listen in just because I want you to hear this chatter as we go through from P2 to P3 as it goes to the opposite side of the map.
Major.
I spawned out front.
Yeah, we spawned out.
I got one front. Yeah, lockers. Lockers dead.
Can you hold your spawns?
Nice kills there from ENVOY. It does look like they're going to have this initial control of P3.
Yeah, I'm trying to hold pinch.
No fucking way.
There was like 20 seconds worth of lag there from ENVOY. Kind of stinks that he wasn't able to help there. That could end up costing them the match, honestly. So 20 seconds worth of lag. He wasn't able to help in hill, and now they're spawning out, whereas they did have control of this third hard point. So that could end up costing them in the end.
Oh, he got me. He's no one child.
They're hitting cold to mid, guys.
And one new.
130 open.
Yeah, one's front bathroom, two front bathroom.
I see open.
So annoying. One's front bathroom, priest.
I have bathroom pinch.
Front bathroom,
I
priest.
needed left. He's our side bathrooms. Good job.
Again, we talked about this the first time through set of rotations, but if you don't have control of that fifth hardpoint location, then you want to try to get as much points here as you can to try to limit the effects of Atlanta being set up on that fifth hardpoint. So they have to get in here. If they lose the majority of these points and they don't have set up for fifth, that's going to be all she wrote. So they have to get in. They have to get these last 30 seconds if they hope to extend this back to the next set of rotations.
Nice. You guys can go. You guys can go.
One's looking for me. One's trying to look for me right. Giving him up.
8 om cell.
Push up.
Dude, 8 om cell.
8 om, priest, 8 om, dead.
Wait, good play. I like this.
Grab easy.
Spawn in middle.
Alec might spawn him out.
He's hitting oil. One's oil. One's 8 om.
Go.
Oil, there's 2 8 om.
Oil dead. Oil dead.
2 8 om, priest. Another one behind him.
Yeah, top 8 down.
8 om, back up. 3 back up, 4.
I got one. 2 more on me. 2 more on me.
Two nice kills from ENVOY, but the problem is that everybody's going woods. So everybody for Chicago that pushed up, they were all coming from the same direction. Whereas they didn't have like 2 people coming from woods and 2 people coming from this right side where ENVOY's at right now. Everybody was focused woods, so those were easy kills because you could just trade those out once you knew where they were coming from.
One hill. Flood hill. I need it behind you, Cole. He's behind you, Cole. Hurt. He back left. Back left hurt.
He's going into green.
Nice job here of getting in.
He's backdoor hill somewhere.
I'm trying to get your front door. He cut me off.
He's Cole screen ramp.
This is exactly the strategy that we talked about earlier, right? So right now, Atlanta's controlling the kills in that choke point right between the left side and the right side. So since they're controlling that, they're able to continue getting the majority of this time here. If you're Chicago, the only thing that you don't want to happen now is Chicago had the opposite spawns, right? So I don't know if this 6 seconds is worth it. Formal just died. We'll see where he comes up. So he came up about halfway through. So now it does look like as this rotates back to the third set of rotations back to mid-map, it looks like Chicago's going to be spawning out. So I don't know if that 10 or 12 seconds worth of contest is worth giving up beneficial spawns for the second hardpoint, because right now it appears that whoever wins this map is going to win it on that second hardpoint by the majority of time that they can get on P2.
Right. Simps through right. Simp got through the back. I'm trying to back up to help you.
Right now we have that same scenario we talked about the first time through. One team is spawning left, one team is spawning right. It does look like Chicago's getting the majority of this map control here.
I'm trying to get this guy off scrap. He got me bathrooms.
Stay alive and we'll still spawn here. 7 seconds.
I'm still in the back.
I spawned left.
One's fucking right. One's right.
So ENVOY spawns left. That means that Atlanta has the majority, or they're pushed up pretty far on the right-hand side.
Have your front door. Have your front door.
One's shot in the back. Back I see absolutely.
I smoked the time.
Stone in the back.
Front door. I'm just staying alive.
Front door, I died.
This is a nice job of contesting here from ENVOY. If he doesn't get this contest, there's already at least 10 points there that go Atlanta's way. But they only need 15 points left to win here. This is probably going to be all that she wrote, because right now, when Chicago's spawning, they're spawning mid-map. So it's not like they're spawning on the left side or the right side. They're spawning mid-map, and if you spawn mid-map, you just have too far of a distance to go.
I'm here with you, Matt.
Door
dead.
dead.
Top.
Door dead. Got 2.
He's back.
I died. Good job.
Try to get in.
1 second. Nice job of contesting, but as this rotates back to the other side, I guarantee you that, I guess it didn't matter. If I was in Codcaster mode, I would have been able to see it a little bit more, but as that was rotating back to the other side, to P3, I guarantee you that Atlanta was set up on that side of the map.
What happened was we had too many people lockers when they already got through to the back when the hill popped, so that's why they spawned there. And then
Trying to listen into what they're saying here.
We're spawning lockers too. I don't understand.
Yeah,
why
I
we're not
died.
rotating towards the hill.
I died inside.
I absolutely got slayed out. Normally, I end up closing this video. Let's listen in a little bit, just see what they're talking
We
about.
all died. We spawned super deep.
I just lost fucking composure.
And I lagged when I after I got a kill and I could not trade to the hill.
Nah, bro, like
rotated at 30 seconds for that. I literally rotated at 30 for that, only for us to literally just flip.
That shit was just too easy for them to break every time.
Dude, our second hill holds are trash recently, and our second hill breaks are trash recently. I know the third thing happened. I don't that was obviously terrible.
Because we're just
a recurring thing that
we're
keeps
not-
happening is our second hill has been.
We're not
progressively worse.
rotating into the hill at all.
Yeah.
Like the fifth hill where we
The
got
first
three
second hill was
kills.
good. Second one.
Yeah.
was
The fifth hill where we got like
I
3
heard
kills.
like hella people burgering.
like even when I get the kills back right when we're like say we're spawning mid and we're going right to crates and shit, I get the kills back right. We never even break the hill.
Yo, and
We
again,
ended up dying.
on the fifth hill, do not hit front door, because they're spawning for us. They're gonna shoot you in the back every
Yeah,
time.
they're shooting aside.
We all might as well just flood that fucking box door and just.
100%.
slide to
This
the
literally
box.
bodied
Yeah,
the fucking
it's
guy in
just
the hill.
we got like 3 dead and just we still couldn't break it.
Wait, I thought that's what we did. I slid in
No,
boxes.
someone
Where the
went front door. I don't know who it
Great,
was.
cool.
All right, so a little bit of trouble in paradise there. It does seem like they're trying to work out the kinks. This is a nice map from Atlanta, but essentially on P2, the first time they went through, they held that very well. And then from there on out, they ended up basically splitting that time or most of those possessions. So they had control of hill, and then they ended up getting spawned out, especially on that third rotation there. They had control of P2. They ended up getting pushed out. They spawned mid-map, and that's what allowed Atlanta to win. The other thing that they talked about was on P5. So on P5, if you're spawning coal and the enemy team is spawning woods, then rather than hitting through mid through that choke point because you're being shot in the back, just everybody push through that boxes cut. If everybody gets through boxes, then you can battle it out inside the hill. But a little bit of adjustments there. I'm kind of interested to see what happens going on here. So as of right now, they are down 0-2 in map count to Atlanta. We'll see what happens the rest of the day. So a little bit of revenge there from Atlanta. We'll see what ends up happening as this scrim plays out. So if you're new around here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much for all the support recently. I super appreciate everything. If you have any comments, leave them down in the comments below. I respond to everything. Don't forget to leave a like before you head on your way. And with that, thanks again. I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.